One of the most striking moments in Pluribus Episode 3 is the scene in which Zosha saves Carol from a live grenade, a sequence that combines tension, character insight, and the show's ongoing exploration of selflessness, human morality, and systemic compliance. Earlier in the episode, viewers observe Carol, portrayed by Rhea Seehorn, in a distracted and slightly intoxicated state, her usual sarcasm heightened by alcohol, oblivious to the latent danger around her.
There is nothing wrong with me that a fucking hand grenade wouldn't fix. You got one of those?
Karolina Wydra's Zosha, meanwhile, is shown smiling, a subtle signal that she is both aware of the situation and emotionally attuned to those around her, even within the collective mindset imposed by the Hive. If you found this video interesting, please do give us a like and watch the video to the end. That will help us reach to a wider audience on YouTube. And also, don't forget to subscribe for more upcoming videos.
Carol, if we may.
Back to the breakdown. The moment begins almost playfully. Carol, assuming the grenade is fake, begins handling it carelessly, testing its mechanisms with reckless curiosity. Her behavior reflects a blend of human curiosity, thrill-seeking, and an undercurrent of denial, an attempt to assert agency in a world increasingly dominated by the Hive's influence. This action, trivial at first glance, serves as a narrative pivot. It forces the Hive-connected Zosha into immediate action, revealing the mechanics of selflessness and systemic obedience embedded in the infected humans. Zosha's response is both instinctive and calculated. As the grenade spoon flies off, the immediacy of the threat demands decisive action. Without hesitation, Zosha steps forward, grabbing the live explosive and hurling it safely away before it can injure Carol. In doing so, she suffers severe injuries herself, which powerfully illustrates the transformed psychology of Hive-connected humans. While Zosha's behavior can be read as selfless heroism, it is informed by a complex blend of empathy, Hive programming, and systemic self-preservation. The Hive has instilled a conceptual understanding that all humans are nodes in a single network. Harm to one can translate into harm to the collective. Zosha's swift calculation, protecting both Carol and herself, demonstrates the Hive's operational logic and practice, where every action is designed to maintain systemic integrity. This duality between selflessness and strategic preservation underscores the series' ongoing meditation on moral agency. The infected are extraordinarily cooperative, yet their altruism is inseparable from an internalized directive to preserve the Hive's stability. In this scene, Zosha embodies the tension between instinctive human care and systemic calculation, illustrating how the Hive's influence reshapes ethical behavior without fully erasing the human impulse to protect others. Moreover, Zosha's intervention triggers a critical reflection for Carol. Watching someone risk their life to save her evokes an initial sense of guilt and doubt. If the infected are willing to sacrifice themselves for others, does that make them inherently more moral or more human than her? This moment intersects with the series' broader thematic exploration of humanity versus procedural obedience. Earlier episodes have established the Hive's near-total control over human hosts, dictating both actions and emotions in service of systemic compliance. Yet moments like Zosha's selfless act reveal that the Hive cannot fully standardize human unpredictability or moral reasoning. While the infected are fundamentally obedient and cooperative, their actions are also shaped by a complex interplay of instinct, empathy, and experiential memory. By saving Carol, Zosha demonstrates that the Hive's influence can guide humans toward protective behavior, but it cannot entirely eliminate the emergent properties of human agency. For Carol, this realization is simultaneously affirming and unsettling. It shows that the infected retain traits reminiscent of humanity, yet it also complicates her understanding of morality, choice, and the true measure of selflessness in a post-happiness apocalypse world. Carol's later conversation with the worker bee about the atom bomb further contextualizes Zosha's grenade-saving act, offering a broader lens through which to interpret selflessness, compliance, and moral reasoning. While Zosha risks herself physically to protect Carol, the worker bee scene illustrates how the Hive's obedience extends into the ethical and hypothetical. Even nuclear weapons are treated with the same procedural compliance, compelled to say yes when prompted, regardless of moral consequences. The contrast between these two interactions, one physical, one hypothetical, reveals layers of complexity in the Hive's control. Zosha acts with immediacy, using both instinct and Hive-guided reasoning to preserve life.
If I asked right now, would you give me another hand grenade?
Yes.
The worker bee responds abstractly, offering mechanical agreement without moral comprehension. Together, these moments reinforce the series' commentary on the limits of the hive. It can optimize for safety, compliance, and systemic preservation, but it cannot fully replicate the nuanced decision-making, emotional insight, or ethical reasoning of a human being. Carol's reflections on Zosha's actions, framed against the worker bee's obedience, deepen her understanding that selflessness alone does not equate to full humanity. Moral agency, unpredictability, and the capacity to weigh choices independently remain distinct human traits. The grenade incident also reinforces the narrative tension between individual survival and collective integrity, a recurring motif in Pluribus. Zosha's sacrifice is both a literal and symbolic demonstration of the hive's operational principle, protecting the network by preserving each node, yet also exemplifying how individuals internalize this principle to guide their own actions. The hive has engineered obedience to extreme measures, but it is the unpredictability of human intervention, Carol's recklessness, Zosha's split-second choice, that creates dramatic suspense and moral complexity for the audience. By framing the scene around a high-stakes, visceral moment, the show emphasizes the delicate balance between procedural compliance and human moral reasoning. It is a physical manifestation of the series' ongoing interrogation of obedience versus autonomy. Even in a system optimized for efficiency and compliance, human choices introduce variables that cannot be fully anticipated or controlled. Zosha's actions crystallize this thematic exploration, showing that even the most compliant nodes in the hive retain emergent properties capable of shaping outcomes. In addition, the grenade scene deepens the emotional and psychological portrait of Carol herself. Her near injury catalyzes introspection, forcing her to reconcile her agency, morality, and the limits of human unpredictability in a world dominated by the hive.
There is nothing wrong with me that a fucking hand grenade wouldn't fix. You got one of those?
Carol's sarcasm, recklessness, and curiosity are humanizing traits that contrast sharply with the systematized obedience of the hive, positioning her as a uniquely destabilizing force. Zosha's intervention serves as both a literal rescue and a narrative mirror. It shows Carol what the hive can do when fully operational, while highlighting her own potential influence over its rules and limitations. This dynamic reinforces Carol's emerging role as a strategic actor, capable of leveraging the hive's compliance while retaining moral reasoning and independent choice, qualities that the hive itself cannot replicate. Her reflections on Zosha's sacrifice catalyze a broader understanding of human morality versus systemic obedience, laying the foundation for her later manipulations and strategic tests of hive limits. Furthermore, the episode uses Zosha's injury to emphasize the series' critique of post-apocalyptic morality. By positioning hive-connected humans as both selfless and self-preserving, Pluribus interrogates the ethical calculus of survival, obedience, and collective welfare. Zosha's ability to act decisively in the moment illustrates that selflessness is not merely performative. It is informed by a blend of instinct, hive programming, and awareness of collective consequences. Yet, for Carol, witnessing this act is a moral touchstone. It forces her to evaluate whether human agency, unpredictability, and grief-based decision-making are superior or complementary to procedural selflessness. This moment cements the show's ongoing tension between efficiency and ethical reasoning, illustrating how emergent human traits, compassion, risk-taking, and moral judgment remain pivotal even in the face of systemic optimization. Finally, the grenade-saving scene resonates with the broader narrative arc of human agency within a hive-controlled world. It underscores a key message. Obedience alone does not equal morality or humanity. Zosha's actions, heroic though they are, operate within a framework designed to preserve the network and mitigate harm, whereas Carol's agency introduces unpredictability, moral reflection, and strategic insight. This distinction is critical for understanding the show's ethical universe. While the hive can compel action, it cannot generate ethical reasoning or authentic empathy. It can only mirror these traits in ways dictated by programming. By observing Zosha's intervention, Carol gains a blueprint for influencing the infected. She recognizes that understanding procedural compliance, emotional responses, and emergent moral reasoning allows her to navigate, manipulate, and potentially heal a world reshaped by the hive. Zosha's sacrifice thus functions narratively as both a catalyst for Carol's strategic awakening and a thematic anchor for the series' exploration of human morality, agency, and the enduring complexity of choice. In conclusion, Zosha's actions in saving Carol from the grenade in Episode 3 serve as a critical narrative and thematic fulcrum. The sequence highlights the delicate interplay between Hive-imposed obedience and emergent human traits, demonstrating how selflessness can coexist with self-preservation and how moral reasoning remains uniquely human even in a system optimized for compliance. Carol's observation of this act, framed alongside her later atom bomb conversation, allows her to discern the limits of Hive programming and the possibilities for human leverage. By situating Zosha's sacrifice within the context of collective integrity, systemic obedience, and ethical reasoning, Pluribus offers a rich meditation on the tension between procedural compliance and human agency, ultimately illustrating how unpredictable moral choices continue to shape outcomes in a world dominated by hyper-efficient, Hive-controlled networks.